Obviously, there's going to be a lot of things that shape you when you're very young and like growing up, like your family, your friends, if you go outside or not, your activities, whatever. But today we're going to talk about television because it's more relevant to like our group. I know a lot of us had like shows growing up. So like from a really young age, so talking like 5 years oldish, you have like Sesame Street to teach you some counting or just like some basic like empathy, friendship stuff. You got Dora to teach you about exploration, adventures, curiosity, and Spanish too. And then you got like Winnie the Pooh type shows to teach you about like power of friendship, like My Little Pony, that type of stuff. And that's gonna be like your basic like grounds for like being like a basic like person who can like communicate with others. Then as we kind of get older, like talking like 10, 11 years old, you go into like the Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network type of shows, and these are going to be the things that sort of like shape your personality more so because you obviously have had shows that influence you. You take from their sense of humor, maybe Gravity Falls gave you like quirky sense of humor, or iCarly taught you that random equals funny, and that shaped you and who you were. So what happens after that? After you're like a basic person. So we have you as like a little pile of dirt, right? We have like our basic shows like Sesame Street giving us like basic skills to make a little plant. The plant is you, but there's really nothing there yet until we get older, and then we have the more like personalized stuff that kind of shape you from being just a person and actually making you into a little individual like me. So this is the type of stuff that's going to individualize everyone. And after that, we go through puberty, and then what happens? We have all of these questions that the Care and Keeping of You American Girl Doll book cannot answer, or a Sex Talk with Mom cannot answer. So we are left looking for something else to imitate, something else to base ourselves off of. And that introduces the teen drama. This is where you have all of your answers about drugs, partying, sex, all of that stuff. People want to watch it because they're curious and they're not going to want to ask their mom and dad. So we get Degrassi, Pretty Little Liars, Riverdale, Glee, Gossip Girl, all of that stuff. And it's going to be raunchy. It's going to give you all of the answers you want. The characters are going to go to parties, do drugs, have sex, all of that stuff. But that's pretty much it, because the people making these shows know their audience very well. They know that these are going to be 13-year-old kids who don't really know what sex is. So they're just gonna throw it in there, give you the bare minimum. And for this example, I'm just gonna use Riverdale, because I feel like a lot of people are probably familiar with that one. It's probably a good example. So Riverdale does exactly that. They give you pretty much like what you want to see from like a teen show that's gonna answer all your questions and fulfill all of your curiosities. So you got the sex, the drugs, the partying, and it's all very, very cheesy. If you don't really know Riverdale that much, this is just like a picture that pretty much says it all. The writing it's bad. It's really bad. But Riverdale is going into its 7th season. And you still watch, I still watch Riverdale. I'm waiting for the next season. Cole Sprouse is 29 years old playing Jughead Jones, who is 16. Like, this is going on too long, and people just keep watching it over and over again, despite how terrible it is. And I'm thinking, like, why? Why is this allowed to stay on television? And I read this review, and I was like, okay, that's it. So it says, I don't understand what the writers are doing because every single episode is packed with mayhem and multiple serial killers. There is no logic, no internal consistency, and none of the other narrative rules that generally bind writers, but that makes it extra relaxing. I just switch off my brain and watch. There's no plot, just vibes. Everyone should have one similar meaningless watch to get them through the pandemic. So this kind of just answers pretty much everything. And it kind of ties into a similar like phenomenon that we have today, which is just like mindless entertainment. So it ties into your TikTok, your slime videos, Candy Crush, all of that. Because the idea is just you get to relax by getting to turn your brain off and just absorb content that means absolutely nothing. And we know this, we know that this has been around. But I didn't really think about the implications of it until Euphoria came out in 2019, but also when it got popular. So if you don't know Euphoria, Euphoria is a show made by Sam Levinson that kind of follows the same format of a teen drama. It has all of that same stuff where it's raunchy and sexual and all of that stuff, but it has a very real message because the writer wrote it to garner sympathy for addicts. It has Zendaya, who was a Disney actor, which kind of drew in that same teen audience. It has Zendaya portraying Rue Bennett, who is an addict, and the show is a lot of her just like being someone who does bad things because she's an addict. It shows the whole like state of addiction, very raw, very the bad and also the good parts, you know, like it doesn't say that drugs aren't fun, but it's going to show you pretty much like an unfiltered picture, and that's hard to watch. It's like a disturbing show. There's warnings on everything. So you have Rue's plotline, but you also have the other characters in the teen drama, and that's going to be like Nate Jacobs? Bennett? Rue Bennett? Nate Jacobs, who is pretty much just like the jock dude, and he's, you know, holding guns to girls' heads, strangling girls out, blackmailing people with their nudes, like being like a generally awful person, right? So all these characters, they do have a lot of depth, but when this show got really popular, I was on social media, I see the reaction to it, and it falls into like two categories, and the two general opinions is one, I don't care, Rue is a bad person, and two, I don't care that Nate Jacobs is a horrible person, I want him to strangle me, he's so hot, please, Nate Jacobs, calling him daddy, whatever. All of that stuff. So that's pretty much like the two categories, and that just makes you like take a second, because as like someone who's watching this show, because like, I don't know, there are parts of it, if you like have someone like struggling with addiction, like it's very accurate, very real like portrayal of it. So when you see this show and you're like, wow, like this is like what people need to see, this is going to show them the truth, and this is the reaction to it, it just like makes you stop for a second, like, wow, why? And between like the first and the second season, there was Euphoria like special episodes, and it was filmed during the pandemic, so it was pretty much just like an hour of Rue, who is played by Zendaya, talking to her sponsor, Ali, and it's just a full like hour of them just sitting down in a diner and talking about addiction and all of that, and it's depressing, but it's very, very real. You can tell that the writing is very like close to like home for Sam Levinson, who wrote this because he was an addict himself. But the writing for the special episode was like amazing, and the reaction to it was just, oh, so you're just gonna sit in like a diner and talk for like an hour? Like yeah. So this is a quote from Zendaya that says, if you're just here for the glitter makeup, then you're missing the point. So how it all kind of ties together is, looking back, if you look at the original, the shows, Sesame Street, all of that, then going into like the preteen shows, the Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, and then ultimately like the teen dramas, all we're doing is we're imitating. We are told this is empathy, and we are like, okay, empathy. This is a sense of humor. Okay, you adopt that. This is a teen drama. You have role models. You base yourself off of those teen drama characters. Whatever, that's fine. But there's no segue from that imitation into the way that we should look at real life problems. And that became very clear with Euphoria, because it was not a show that you were meant to imitate. It was not a show that's black and white where you can say this character is a bad person, this character is a good person. It's all very subjective. So we need to stop for a second and just go back to those skills. Go back to those base level skills of empathy, perspective, and use our brains. I think that there's definitely a time and a place for Riverdale type shows. There's a time and a place for mindless watching. But we need to go back at some point and use those skills that we got from Sesame Street to actually use who we are as a person, to think about this, to see these shows and be like, wow, Rue is like deserving of love, these people, like, they need help. And that's what's actually going to make change. So yes, mindless watch all you want, but when it comes to stuff like this, we need to actually use our brains a little bit more. That's all.